Hello, and welcome to Focus on Liberia. Ansony Sieh, the hour of politics. Always here. Welcome. Do us that usual favor. Share the show with your contact, fellow Liberians. Mr. Alva Tuba is my guest in today's edition of the Hour of Politics. We can welcome you enough. The political leader of the Alternative National Congress just granted a national interview in which he revealed a lot of information and provided answers that need to be talked about. And so that is why we are here, and we would rather have that somebody who have had the opportunity to have come close to him, work with him as a chief of office staff. Havak Tuba is here. Mr. Tuba, welcome to the Hour of Politics on Focus on Liberia. It's good to have you, sir.
Thank you for having me. You know I like to give you a hard answer. It's Tukpah, not Tukpah. You want to make me crewman. I'm not a crewman.
So when a crewman is pronouncing thing a crew way, how do you have a problem with that?
You try to do it the fella. Let him try to do it the fella way.
It's good to have you. How you feeling? How's family?
Man, family is great. I'm feeling good. You know. You see what I'm wearing right today, just for you. I had to put on my ANC paraphernalia, and this is representing global because I'm in the US, so I got to prop, global up.
Well,
This ANC cap. So
I see that. You're looking great in that cap, by the way. I hope that cap will, not cover you with biases of the ANC.
no. I'm very objective, man. I'm very objective.
Okay, that's the objectivity that we need. So, folks, if you are just joining all the Hour of Politics, I've had two of my guests today is seated. We have a lot to talk about, and let us get started here quickly. I'm curious. You listening to the interview, by the way. What do you make of it? What was your general impression after you listening to about an hour-long interview of your political leader?
Well, first, I would like to commend Spoon TV, specifically Stanton Witherspoon, for the interview. I think on his part, I think that's his best presentation I've seen in terms of his demeanor, in terms of his questions, his probing, his seeking clarification. Overall, I think he did a great job. But Mr. Cummings' performance was spectacular, in my opinion. He really responded to the questions. He was able to encapsulate the entire national environment and bring it to the people. The issues, the concerns, the personal situation happening when he regards to the court case, the whole, CPP situation. And in that, he incorporated his vision and how he would do things. So, it was an impressive performance. And I think there should be greater resonance of what he stands for with so many people who watched that. And we've gotten significant positive feedback, from those who were privy to or opportune to be able to watch him.
In science, they said there is nothing that is 100% efficient. You just talk about how he did marvelously well, right? Was there anything that you think he could have said better or something he could have done better, saying there's no 100% guarantee in anything or with any person?
Well, I remember I used to make a lot of 100 while in school. So sometimes you just score 100. Some situations you just score perfect. And that was a perfect performance. I'm not picking any straws from there to distract or detract or subtract from, what he did. So if, other people have opinions that negates certain things or they're not satisfied, that's expected because everybody will not fall in line. Everybody will not have the same opinions or the same, orientation in terms of what they perceive something to be. So you have people who would disagree, who would say other things, but in terms of what he did, what he presented from his side, his performance, his response to those questions, and what he was able to draw out of our Solicitor General. Overall, that was very impressive.
Don't rush into the discussion, Mr.
No, but
Well.
how can you tell me what I'm gonna do? You
I mean,
ask me
you just
questions.
want to know. I just said to you, there's my premise, my man. I said, look, nothing is 100% efficient. And I'm asking you to find something that he could have said better, could have done better, and you're not giving me anything as though there was nothing at all. So just tell me there was nothing.
Ansony, give me 1 second. Yeah.
I mean, if you were on CNN, you would not do this. I would not take that.
Ansony, you can get vexed with me. If my wife calling me or some kind of emergency call come through, I got to get it. You know I'm pressed, my man. You know I'm pressed. You know I got a lot of things on my hand. So I
arranged with you. I know we can do some exception, but now when the interview is going, but let's leave that. Let's go ahead.
I'll hold your phone. Next time I will say, let me step away for a second. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, but Ansony, you asked me a question. I answer you.
Okay.
Then you get invest with me.
All right. Let us make progress. I don't want to. So one of the things Mr. Cummings said was the level of stealing in government.
Right.
And he enumerated instances, reports. There's this perception versus reality kind of scenario to a certain extent. Do you not see it that way?
Do I not see what that way? I see
perception versus reality.
No, that's the reality. There ain't no perception about it.
So tell me the reality you see, Mr. Tukpah.
The reality, as Mr. Cummings enumerated. For one, let's step back. Let's step back and look at this whole thing holistically, right?
Good. Yeah.
Let's talk about transparency in government.
Okay.
You as a journalist, tell me what access you have to actually be able to monitor government spending in Liberia.
The budget, I know.
I said spending. I didn't say projection.
Not much.
Exactly. So when you don't have transparency and you don't have accountability for those who govern our finances, you see, unfortunately, this government has taken the people's money to be like a piggy bank or the personal account. And that approach is totally wrong. It's not in the interest of the people. And that's what Mr. Cummings is talking about. So,
for example,
we can just look, there's so many other reports that have come out, from the 16 billion by the Crow people to the 25 million by the presidential investigatory team, the PRT, where our own man, Coffee, was threatened. He had to leave the country. So the audit that was going on, that several auditors died with no accountability. Just the recent Ministry of Health situation. So let's not even compound the people who really know how money is moving around the world, the American people. Christmas Day, we have a kleptocracy. The President Biden's chief of staff, a personal assistant, wherever she is, she said no accountability, no transparency, we need to change. Linda Greenfield said the same thing. On J.J. Rao's birthday, the U.S. ambassador was telling J.J. Rao was telling her in her grave because of the level of corruption, lack of accountability and transparency we have. So for us to just keep hammering the same thing, Liberian people need to wake up and understand that this government is not functioning as it should. From the corruption to the lack of governance to the chaos that are in the country, they need to do better. I mean, and we just have to be honest about it.
Mr. Cummings also talked about darkness in Liberia, and I think he made that figuratively. What is the real meaning?
Well, maybe figuratively in the entire sense of darkness, but it's literal. Liberia is dark. Look, you have seen some of the maps, the light maps of other places where the lighting situation is at night. Right? Compared with where we are. I mean, we got sometimes Christmas light or sparkling of Christmas light where sometimes it can't on, sometimes it can't on. You know, the street lights, they line up, some days working, some days not working. The whole electricity situation is dire. Okay. There have been some improvement in one or two areas with the with the new transformers that they have been putting on. But we have generated significant electricity, even though when the rainy season comes, it kind of slows down because of the hydro. But there's some electricity available. There's electricity coming through the from Ivory Coast as well. Again, our responsibility as a government, as our Liberian Electricity Corporation, and as people is to ensure some integrity in the system, and that is what we don't have. People are stealing current. People are utilizing current, especially some government officials and other without any payment. That undermines the monopoly that LEC is, that is supposed to provide for the people. It should be a very profitable institution. Unfortunately, because it's not managed well, it is not. Then the issue of substations, the issue of transmission and distribution. The communication is not there for the expectations of the Liberian people in regards to what is the progress in the sector. But yet instead, the president had the audacity to praise the LEC in his State of the Nation address a few months ago. So we have a pathetic situation when it comes to physical darkness. But then there is also a metaphorical darkness over the country in terms of where we are as a country. We are in a very dark period. The deaths, the lack of investigation about those deaths, the cloud that is over the government with regards to corruption and everything else, the lifespan of our people, especially the very young people, the children in terms of the vaccination, the children in terms of their nutrition, all of those are killing some of our people. We are a very young population in our country and highly productive, but there's attrition because our people who are responsible for healthcare, for example, look at the Global Fund audit. That's just one portion of funding that comes to the Ministry of Health for tuberculosis, for AIDS, and for mosquito. And some of those things are preventable things. The vaccine, I can share with you later on a text message I got from a guy who was basically crying that for a year, I think the tuberculosis vaccine is BCG. For a year, the Ministry of Health were out of it because probably they seen Global Fund corruption. I'm not sure, but it's highly possible that's what it is. And when the donors don't provide those things, you as a country, you recognize the necessity. You have to protect your citizens, but yet and still, the government will not take our own dime that we generate to pay for anything. So it's very pathetic.
Let's go back to the issue of electricity again. Mr. Tueh is on record for saying they are trying to make the hard choices, and there are constraints there.
Try is not a policy.
When it comes to finding the resources, I think at some point he said probably they have to decide whether they wait for the rainy season when the hydro will be able to function to full capacity. And now the issue at the Rabat International Airport, they're trying to find some $23 million.
Try is not a policy. Try is not a plan.
This is a problem that was inherited by this government, and we see or hear that they are making some efforts. And while you opposition are just beating on them for a problem that they inherited.
If that your opinion, then I feel sad for you. Seriously. That we are beating.
Are you here to fight me or are you here to answer my questions?
No, it depends on how you ask the question. Because you making a statement that they're trying, I don't see the results of those try. Then you're accusing me and opposition of beating on them. What do you think is the role of the opposition? To hold the government's feet to the fire. That's the role of the opposition. There's no other thing. We got the whole situation warped in terms of how we think generally that opposition is supposed to be filling in, doing the things government is supposed to do. No, that's not the role of the opposition. Yes, because we have to meet the country where it is, so the opposition has to fill in for some of those things. But the role of government is a contractual role. It's a social contract that's buttressed by our constitution and empowers them to do all of those things that they are supposed to do. Protect our life, protect our security, provide social services, negotiate our contracts, ensure that our natural resources benefit the people. This government has abdicated its responsibility. It has not handled it. It has been a very irresponsible government. And your point, one second, your point about inheriting, yes, you were a member of the CDC, or probably still, you still are. I was a member of the CDC. We knew what we're advocating for. We knew what was supposed to be the value.
You don't know. I left, and I communicated that with you long before.
Oh man, I'm 60 years old, so now I can forget. So,
all right, continue.
I know you left the CDC. I'm just teasing you. But on a serious note, right? You know what we're preaching, what we're trying to do for the Liberian people. When that does not happen, there's no reason why we should be silent. That's my disappointment with many of those seditionists who were so for the people. And what did we not say? For you to even say we're beating on the Uyghur government, the Uyghur government is getting a pass because the opposition is consumed with its drive to power and they hitting at each other. With us, when we're in opposition, we're consistently on this government, dealing with the issues, pointing them out, and even people in the Unity Party respected us because we didn't curse them. We didn't try to insult them, but we tried to point out exactly what.
Are you sure? Some just say some.
Well, if somebody would take criticism or critical analysis as insult, then it happens. I mean, people do that all the time.
It is a fact that some seditionists misbehave,
insult. No. Some. I'll talk about us. I'll talk about like you and me. I'm not talking about those rah-rah seditionists who are just totally sycophants and would just scream and insult people. They will carry panty in the street. They will carry casket in the street and stuff like that, just to make a point. But now if somebody were to do it, they will be crying. Right. When you do something, expect other people to do it to you. That's something I really believe in.
And Mr. Cummings said he will be able to put a team of smart and qualified Liberians together. Should he be fortunate enough to serve our country as president, as the first step to tackling the nightmare that we have on our hands. When I listened to that, I said, whoa, the last time we checked, Ellen did similar thing. She brought a lot of talented and smart Liberians together. But then not too long in your administration, especially in your second term, corruption took center stage. So I'm asking, how will Cummings manage? Because putting a team together is one thing. Managing the team is the hardest thing to do.
I agree.
So how will he do it?
So you start from where your principles lie. Mr. Cummings is a man of integrity. He's a man of principles. He uses performance measures to assess people objectively. So I think that's where Madam Sieh failed. She did not hold people accountable. Okay. And then when her son came in, nepotism was the driving force for everything. I mean, what did she say? Oh, the Arab people, they need family people. How stupid is that? Family people? When we're talking about a country, you say because they got their kingdom, their princes, the king children, whatever. That has nothing to do with our country, where we should send the most competent Liberians to represent or to engage. That's one. Two, her son just mismanaged NOCAL, basically took it near bankruptcy, because some people argue it was never bankrupt. Some people say it was bankrupt. Some people say some money was left there, that what this government is using now, as this government has not generated a dime from the sector. Do you know that whether NOCAL has really brought any currency to the table since these last 4 years?
If I may, I listened to former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf interview on Al Jazeera, and at some point she said that the whole sector, the investors that came, like Sharon and other people, they realized we didn't have much enough, so they decided to leave. That's how the whole thing went down. That is her account. So she's saying this accusation that, there was so much money and they took the money, she said that is a blatant lie.
Well, let us start with the money that they gave for corporate social responsibility in terms of how it was spent. It was spent by Robert Sirleaf. There were other funding that came in that was spent by Robert Sirleaf, so she can't say that. But that's beside the point. I'm talking about what has this government done in the sector so far. Everybody running away from them. because they're trying to extort people before people can even come in. And that's a problem. That's why foreign direct investment is so low in Liberia. And that's why the ones that are actually trying to invest, like Meta Steel, you look at the amount of issues that Meta Steel has around the world from a labor perspective, from a contractual perspective, and how they wanted to use us recently to get control of our rail, control of our port. I mean, they're not good business people. Unfortunately, they're not good business people. They need to demonstrate more. The government did not even confirm that they actually executed a country plan, against what they promised. That confirmation has not been done. And, Edwin Dennis was there. He was making huge promises. What happened? We can see it. Okay, and now he's suspended, so I don't know whether his deputy will be able to do it. I mean, it's just sad. This government is just lost on most of the key issues that will benefit the Liberian people.
Mr. Cummings talk about predictability in the private sector, and that justice reform, rule of law, and the application of the law should be used as a foundation, to create that predictability in the private sector. My question is, why is that so important to private sector development and national development?
Let's take it down one level, Ansony.
Mm-hmm.
If you have in your house there with your family,
Right.
every day you come home, you don't even know how your wife and children will react to you. Mm-hmm. 1 minute they could be wasting dirty water on you. Another minute they could be trying to chop you with something. Another day they will even lock the door that you can't enter the door. So when you have unpredictability, there is no stability. And that's what means in a business environment, there must be some level of consistency and some expectations of standards that I know as a business person. If I invest my money, this is my potential return on that investment. Mm-hmm. If I do these particular activities, 1, 2, 3, I expect X, Y, Z. I expect this kind of incentive from the government. I expect this kind of contractual support. So when you can't even have a judicial system that enforces contracts, okay, where agreements come and people just dismiss them, just act with impunity. The level of impunity in the business environment is huge. So it's not dependable. So with all that dependability, mm-hmm. right, it affects business. You don't know where your product's coming from. You don't know what kind of services you can provide anytime. So predictability is very important in business. And that what drives future projections, that what drives the business engine. And when you don't have that, you have a problem.
Mr. Cummings vowed in his words to stop the stealing, that I will stop the stealing and the corruption. And that was not his first time saying that. He said that just about any time he has the opportunity to speak. What I have not seen, and you have to correct me if I'm wrong, is a documented or written approach as to how the corruption is going to be stopped, other than what we just hear from him. Should we just take his words?
No, Mr. Cummings has been very clear on the many ways that he expects mm-hmm. to stop corruption.
Okay.
He has been very clear that the integrity institutions will be independent.
Okay.
They will not be like micromanaged by the executive branch. That's the first step. The second step, he will require performance management agreement with he and the people who report to him. And similarly, they mm-hmm. will waterfall that down to other people who are in the chain, right? Mm-hmm. So you got accountability. The Freedom of Information Act requires certain level of transparency from each of these different ministries. He will enforce that kind of reporting, that you have to document what you do, okay? He has said that he will govern with clean hands. The leakages that we have here, he will push to limit the physical touching of money, which is part of the corruption in our country. Automation will run away from it, whereas the technology base, if we can get technology in government, mm-hmm. where e-governance is standard, where there are alerts, where there are system checks and balances, it limits the level of corruption. And where there is real accountability, there is real monitoring evaluation of some of these things, where there's no cahoot and there are ways that you can track it, it's easy. We have some of them today, but they are just being pushed to the side. And unfortunately, we probably have a leader who does not understand some of these things, and the people who are next level to him, they themselves probably don't understand how some of these things work. So it's hard for them to implement and hard for them to maintain. But at the individual level, Mr. Cummings himself as an individual, he's not coming into this position to steal. You know, he, like he said, he has been blessed. So he doesn't have to be conniving with his appointees and other people. Oh, that they decided, oh, you got for the chief. Oh, the chief got to do this. Oh, where people actually take government money to go and placate or satisfy the leader. That should not be happening. So those are so many ways that Mr. Cummings looks, to really ensure that integrity comes into government. We limit corruption, because at the end of the day, it's just natural for people to be corrupt. Whether that the Adam and Eve thing or whatever is natural. We understand that. But the system you put in, your position, your stance, you're not subjecting yourself to nepotism or cronyism. You hold people accountable to the tasks you have, given to them, to the mandate of the institution that they are managing. When you can do that, like we expect Mr. Cummings to do, and like he continuously says he will do, we expect to be successful as a people in terms of eradicating or limiting corruption.
On the issue of audit, he said, and I quote, "I will audit what I inherit should I be blessed enough to become president." He went further to say, "I will request an audit." So let's talk about the whole issue of audit, right? And I think he went further to say that depending on the gravity of the seriousness of any report against anybody that will be in my government, he will either ask the person to step aside or that the person take a leave of absence. Is that a good way to put it that shows seriousness?
We in a serious country here, right? When there's any scandal or any potential for corruption, what happens, Ansony? You either on administrative leave, you either suspended, or you either fire if from the initial look there is substantive information to say you did wrong. So there should be standards. And what he's saying is what should be applied. Without doubt, we should be where we understand what his position is on corruption, what we expect from our ministers, what we expect from our lower level government officials, and from the person who's interacting with the public out there representing the government. Whether you go in the field to do an audit out of business, you gotta let our business know that you're not taking corruption, because there will be somebody coming to look at that activity. Is this business, whatever you lay out there in terms of operations, profit loss analysis from a tax perspective, whether it's correct or whether it's not correct? Those things will happen. Those checks and balances will happen.
I was looking for language like that person would be suspended for time indefinitely, or that person would be fired depending on the seriousness and the facts before me.
But I just said that. Well, I mean, you missed it.
Well, I heard him saying, well, the person will be made to step aside or take a leave of absence while we investigate.
Yeah,
and
but
good enough for me.
Trying to say, essentially, he's trying to say, like, if you don't have enough evidence, you can't just take action. But you can't keep that person in a position where they can protect their position, they can hide information and stuff. So they got to step aside or take a leave of absence, and then you investigate, and then you make a decision. But it will not be like what's happening today with some of these investigations where we don't hear of, they don't go anywhere. No, there will be follow through. There will be real follow through on those.
And does Mr. Cummings have the history of taking any such action in his lifetime for us to believe what he's saying?
In terms of his, 40 plus years of corporate experience and, managing people.
I want us to restrict it to his political experience.
Well, for one, Mr. Cummings is not a person who likes the noise or the distraction, right? So take, for example, my situation, like before we went live, we were talking about controversial author, right? So with that book, it would have been a huge distraction to him. So the reasonable thing was for me to resign, to give them that space for them to operate. He's already burdened with a court trial. He doesn't need Harvard book distraction to affect him in any way. And
I mean, I have some problem there, right? And allow me to put it out there so you can respond here. When that news came out, many people said, look, he could ask this, there should be an suspicion, then he investigate in keeping with the statement that he made that when there is anything, I will ask the person to step aside or take a leave of absence. But in this case, and you can correct me, what we heard was he demanded that you send in a resignation.
No, that's a lie.
Without all the facts.
That's a lie. He didn't.
That was not the case.
He did not demand anything.
So even why he couldn't say no or have a step aside, or until we can get all the facts, and he had to accept your resignation. Was that the right thing to do?
You gotta respect where I came from too. You know, I don't want to be a distraction as well. Okay. So yes, we may have underestimated what the reaction would have been to the book or to that particular chapter. Again, is the limitation of so many people in terms of not reading the entire book, taking 2 excerpts and assuming that's the totality of the book, which would are wrong. And the first thing, the interpretation of those excerpts were not my words. Yes, we wrote it, but we even refined it compared with what some of the people actually said in the interviews with, Emmanuel, in trying to get that particular information from the people he interviewed to put in the book. So it's not an issue of responsibility for Mr. Cummings. No, it's also a responsibility for me and how perceived and the standards are set. Okay. And at any point in time, Mr. Cummings can call on me again to do whatever he wants me to do, if it's required. That's not an issue. But at that particular moment in time, it was a necessity.
That was Mr. Cummings who took a decision because of pressure. Even though those who were venting out that hypocritical outrage, they were wrong. That's my opinion, that they were wrong.
No, they were definitely wrong.
Right. And so he took a decision on something that was completely wrong.
Yeah, but sometimes it was not only the public that's out there. Sometimes there may be internal people who advise him, because he has several people who are his advisors that may advise him to take a certain course. And then when he weigh it, when he talks to me what my position is, then he go with that action. But let's go back to the whole baselining thing, right? The auditing of government agencies, that should be something natural. For 2 years after election, when I was staying with the CDC, I fought in a key CDC chat room the issue of us doing an audit. They say I wanted to witch hunt Madam Sieh. Witch hunt? Why? No, that's not witch hunting. It's about taking a baseline and knowing where you are. What happened eventually? Did Madam Sieh and George Weah not go back and forth about what was left in government coffers?
They did.
Exactly. So if you don't do a baseline that documents, we got this from Central Bank, we got this from LBDI, we got that from LPMC, NOCA, NPA, Roberts, all the revenue generating agencies and stuff like that. This is where we are. This is what happened. Even the whole transition process, in terms of the turnover notes, some people probably never read a turnover notes to know where their specific ministry or agency was. So if you don't get that baseline, there's no way you can really operate truly and understand where you are and where you're going. Because that baseline also should have helped to drive the pro-poor agenda. But did they take that baseline? No, they didn't do the baseline. So it was not taken into consideration. They didn't know where exactly Madam Sieh stopped and where she started. That's why even today, for some of these roads and all this stuff that are being completed, the Unity Party people are claiming, oh, we did it, we did that. The CZ people are saying, no, XYZ. So if you don't get a clear baseline and you don't communicate that baseline to the audience, to the people of Liberia, so they know, look, now people who told what they knew us, we came here, no electrical socket here, they labor them boss, XYZ. Unfortunately, they didn't do that. So that's what they're facing. So Mr. Cummings is trying to be very clear.
Thank you.
Draw that baseline.
Folks, you are watching the Hour of Politics with me, Ansony Sieh, here, focus on Liberia. Mr. Ava Tukpah, I'm pronouncing it the crew way, is my guest here, and we are discussing the topic. Mr. Alexander Benedict Cummings and his path to 2023 with the CPP. Stay on the whole issue of audit, which I believe is tied to accountability too.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Mr. Cummings took over from Benny Nayere. And I don't know if there were any turnover note. Mr. Cummings did not communicate that. You, rightfully, and I agree with you that whatever turnover note that the CDC government got from President Weah, they did not communicate it to the people. Say, hey, this is why we inherited. They didn't do that. Mr. Cummings, in my opinion, did not communicate what he took over from Benny Nayere. Now, fast forward, during the CPP, when the other parties were there, they were not paying bills. All right. And what I noticed is that Mr. Cummings and his party just said it, and they didn't hold the other parties accountable as they should have. So the whole issue of audit and accountability, Mr. Cummings have not demonstrated that to me as an individual, for which I should believe that when he gets to government, he will do it. These were non-due paying members of the CPP. They allowed them to slide. And even in the words of Alosha Too, they wanted for the CPP to survive, so they allowed it to happen. He said it here. Your turn.
Well, I'm not sure exactly if you can provide me some quotation. You know, I won't just go by he said it here, because I didn't listen to Alosha saying that.
I don't think I have any reason to lie to you.
No, I'm not saying you're lying, but sometimes interpretation of, you know, somebody's wording, maybe from your interpretation versus my interpretation.
And I just said to you what he said,
different, you know,
that they did that in good faith because they wanted for the CPP to survive.
Sometimes some organizational things require expediency. You know, with regards to the CPP, I was not there at the beginning, so I cannot say for sure what happened or what didn't happen. But it has been clear over, you know, whatever time that the transition from Mr. Ure to Mr. Cummings was an undocumented, no document provision kind of, you know, transition. Compared with the transition from Mr. Cummings to Yombly, where there was clear documentation provided and everything else. So the CPP, I thought, was an ace or good proposition if people can go by the rules they develop. You know, if you come to an agreement on something, live by it. And that's what Mr. Cummings consistently held the leadership of the CPP to, that they should, you know, conform to what they agreed to on paper. But yet today we have the CPP in and dissidents, I should say, because they haven't really left, quote unquote, by the law, because they can't just withdraw on the mode that they have withdrawn from the institution. So there has to be some conversation coming up, hopefully, because once they get to the Supreme Court and Supreme Court tell United Party that you cannot field a candidate, then maybe they got to go to their new alliance that they've been trying to focus on or something like that, you know. But
isn't that tricky? Let me jump in here. So yes, ANC saying, hey, you did not leave legally, and I agree with you because the framework, you know, spelled out how one has to leave. But then at the same time, you are holding them accountable that the law should apply for leaving. Are you paying attention to me? You muted yourself. You are still muted.
The laws apply for leaving. I'm still listening to you.
Okay. So yes, you're saying, hey, actually you did not leave based on the language of the CPP. I agree with that, right? But at the same time, you are holding them accountable that the law should apply for leaving. You're saying two things at the same time. You muted again.
Oh, my stuff keep going to mute. You have not left the right way, but yet and still you want to take actions as if you have actually withdrawn the right way. And within the clause, you can field a candidate in your party's name. That's what we agreed to.
Okay.
So it's not like doing both. No, that's all the CPP today is saying. Okay. Now, if you had left and not try to do anything that violates what's in our agreement, that's fine. Right. If they had left and go form an alliance with, like they were saying, some kind of, you know, alliance with Joseph Boyka and some other people, that's
Yeah,
fine.
we heard about two, CUPE, Coalition of Unity Party, and then DAL.
Exactly.
Democratic
Democratic
Alliance of
Alliance of
Liberia.
Liberia, whatever. That would have been fine. But to try to feed a candidate under the Unity Party or under the ALP would have been wrong, and that's what the issue is. And that's why the hearing officer at the National Elections Commission has been very clear. They appealed it, they lost it, they went to the Board of Commissioners, they appealed it, they lost it. Now I think they're probably on their way to the Supreme Court, which will be the final nail in the coffin for this issue so that we can move on.
Are you guys hoping that the Supreme Court will nail them as well?
There's nothing. Hope is not a strategy. We got things on paper, documentation that's very clear. That
can you survive without hope, Ava?
What has hope done for? And hope keeps you going. You need hope. I'm not saying, but it's not a strategy.
That's what Liberians are relying on right now.
Only because Liberians are very resilient. We can't use that for them. Okay. We really can't.
I agree. Sometimes back we had you here, and you made this compelling argument that Mr. Cummings' corporate skills and experiences are transferable to his political career. He's been there for some time now.
Right.
Have we seen the results thereof of these transferable skills and experiences in the political arena? Have we seen them? If yes, why are some? Show me some or tell me some.
Well, one practical one is his stance on integrity, his interaction in the CPP. I mean, that should be visible for people to see. Another one is how he presents himself, the level of professionalism, the expertise with which he delivers on these different topics. Okay? Look at Spoon. Spoon went to Liberia. They didn't release any engagement. They sat down with President Weah for 4 hours. They didn't release any video of them questioning him on national issues.
I'm listening.
I'm asking.
I know I do the asking. You answer. So
then we got
your rhetorical question. You can answer it.
We got a flat moment.
Okay.
You answer some other questions before though. But you want to answer on Spoon? That's fine. I have not seen anything. I simply ask you if you have seen something. I have not seen anything. So what does that tell you?
I did not see anything, and I think I went on record a few times on other.
And that's why I appreciate about you, Ansony.
Spoon needs to come clean. And in fact, they promise that they even have, I think, videos, and they are yet to come up with that. And I will hold them accountable, and I want people to hold me accountable too for what I do. That's the way we should do it. Now, the next thing,
Ansony, let me just praise you. That's the difference between you and many people. You speak the truth. You're not hide behind it and say, where people just want to hear. You'll be honest. So, and that's why I ask you, because I know I was going to get an honest response from you. So far among the leaders, Mr. Cummings had drawn a clear line of distinction in terms of his capabilities, his experience, his understanding of the issue, his vision for Liberia, his articulation, his own individual expertise, and how he recognizes that he doesn't have everything that's needed. He will build a good, strong team that will be independent, that he will respect, but he will hold them accountable.
Thank you. Mr. Cummings talked about conflict of interest, and I think he was strong when he spoke about that. So let us talk about that. When you were appointed, and correct me here, you were not only there as a political strategist staff member to him, if I can put it that way. My understanding too is that you were to also help him administratively with his businesses. Is that correct?
No. We're not mixing his business with, what we're doing from a political standpoint. No.
But I read a communication. Do you remember the content of it?
Oh, I can pull it up on my computer now and read it for you, or we can go to his web page. I'm just telling you. I mean, if you want to, have a difference of opinion, that's fine. I don't have a problem.
Okay, let's leave that, because what I remember was that you were not only going to help with the political side, but you were also going to help him on his business side. That's what I remember very well. And
No, but running his office, that's political office, not his business office. Mr. Cummings has significant investments. He has CIH Cummings Investment Holdings, which operates as, an investment institution, and they have lots of investments around, a lot of opportunities in Liberia too. It's just that in
Exactly.
Liberia, it came.
That's what I was saying. So I think I'm correct.
No, you said whether I was going to be involved. No, there's a difference with him having it versus me being involved. That's all I'm saying.
So you were never to be involved at all?
No.
Or you were never involved?
No, I mean, know of something, but I don't have to be involved with it.
All right. Then let's talk about this whole ANC Global, the Cummings Foundation.
Well, there are two different things there. That's two different things, right?
I'm going to another question.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we have the ANC Global, the Cummings Foundation, Cummings Businesses, Cummings the politician,
the humanitarian,
Cummings the humanitarian, the guy who's running for office. Do you not see all that as some source of conflict, the composite of it all?
Conflict?
I asked my question. Go ahead.
That's what I'm saying. Conflict. I'm trying to find out how there is conflict in a person having multiple roles. No,
what's about confusion? You don't see any confusion there?
No, I don't see any confusion. I don't see the conflict of interest there. He's not using it for some kind of gain. He's been doing his humanitarian stuff. He developed political interests and is pursuing that. So to say, that's a conflict of interest, I don't think so.
So, but here's the thing, Isaiah. Mr. Cummings, through his foundation, have done a number of things in Liberia, some of which that I know. When you who support Mr. Cummings, talking about Mr. Cummings, you mention some of these things when you are talking politics. You mention some of the things done by either the Cummings Foundation or some other things he might have done personally. And when you're doing that, you want him to be giving political credit for what he did as a humanitarian, what he did with Cummings Foundation, ANC Global. So I see some issues there. Do you not see that?
No, I really don't. Because people can be philanthropic, they can be working for humanity, they can be a politician, they can be a business person.
So how is that different from, say, Prince Johnson? He been in university and he's a politician. Thomas Fowler is a politician and he said he's been in a Thomas Fowler.
The difference is he's not using government position to do that. That's the big difference.
That's a big difference.
Yes.
Even though
these things are paid in political. Listen, he's not using the 30,000 of the people money to say that legislative project. No, he's not doing that. This is his own money or his own solicitation out there with other organizations in partnering to be able to do all this medical support, or having a STEM school. Where, look, I was impressed, man. And the young ladies at that school, they are the ones making 4.0. People, I always have this thing that Liberian women are smarter than Liberian men. That institution is proving it at the highest level. I can share a picture with those 4.0 young ladies from the Cummings school. It's just impressive. It's just impressive.
And was that school built by the Cummings Foundation or Cummings himself?
Yes. From
the foundation.
From the ground up by the Cummings Africa Foundation. Yes, they did that.
And do you think he's not going to get political credit and dividend because of that?
If he gets political credit of that, it's fine. It's just a model to show where he would take our education system. That he believes in the young people. He believes the foundation of any developing country should be based on science, technology, engineering, math. You can add even economics to it. But all this public administration and this communication major that we just have all over the place, they bring things to the table, but the congestion of them in a space that should be focused on technical things, on moving the country, on agriculture, on our mining sector, on just the technology sector, all those different things that require the sciences. We are lacking when we compare our capacity, our human capacity with other people, we are behind the 8 ball. And he is the only one that can relate. I don't even know if I can check email, to be honest with you.
All right. Leave the old man alone.
I'm a papi though. I'm a papi. I'll just give you an example. Don't feel bad.
No, I'm not feeling bad. I don't support any politician. I never will, because it makes no sense to me. So here's the thing.
You see, now you won't make me chase behind you for you to join the ANC.
But that's your right to chase me. Go ahead. I give you the chance to chase me.
All right. We're on it.
Name me one politician I ever supported in my life.
Oh, no. You said you were never. So I say going forward, I will chase you. I'll respect.
All right. Yeah, thank you. You can hold me accountable for that, and I will appreciate that. So let's come to the case, right? Mr. Cummings was on record for saying, I am being targeted. The government is using the justice system to target me. How?
Hey, man. When we can't be redundant yet.
Isaac, you are supporting a politician. My job is to make you tired answering questions. So go ahead.
Well, we got 10 minutes, though. We got 10 minutes. You know,
no problem. So we can make use of that 10 minutes.
So we're all questioned, right? Mr. Cummings has been targeted. And they're using the judiciary as a political weapon to attack him. Look at what has transpired. Because, like I said, when Mr. Cummings was on that Spoon show, what happened?
You see, you were getting tired, but now I see you firing up now to talk.
Oh, no, my man, I can always talk. No, I say I got other things to do because of schedule, not because I'm tired of talking.
Go ahead.
And I'm just saying some of the things are redundant because it's obvious, but repetition can be good. Then maybe it will resonate with people and they will learn it and will understand.
And I want you to really see it that way, because sometimes I feel that you're like, oh, we answered the question before, so no need. I don't want you to do that, because the last time you talked, somebody may not have heard you. There are some people who have not listened to comments and they might be hearing this now.
That's a fact. That's a fact. I totally agree with you.
Okay.
So it's not just between me and you, because you know all these things already. So it's between me and the other people now. So we'll talk. Yeah. So I will just dwell on the communication between Sieh when he came online. Can you put it up? Do you have that text? Do you want to share it?
I have to find it, but continue speaking.
Okay, let me see if I can find it, and then we can read it. Because
no, you speak. I will get it now. I have it.
Okay, right you will get it. Okay, wonderful. So while on the show, Mr. Cummings was explaining about the case and how he felt the government and a majority of our people feel that way is targeting him. They're trying to distract him from his focus. They're trying to smear him to make him look like them, because we know we are in a very corrupt society and people will talk about your association and stuff. But I know I got friends who are drug dealers. I got friends who smoke weed. I got friends who have alternative lifestyle and everything. That does not mean I do all those things. I got friends who drink liquor, who get high. I don't do those things. So that does not mean that if you interact or associate with people who do those things, you do it. Sometimes you associate with them to elevate them. The pastor who is there counseling this person, that person, the other person, he's not doing the things they're doing, but they're in his church, he engaged with them. So that's Mr. Cummings' vision of a big tent, bringing all of us together with disparate Liberian people, but we are one people. How can he unite them? So it takes engagement with different sectors of our society for us to be able to engage. So now he feels he's being targeted, wrongfully so, with this case. This is a misdemeanor case. It has been going on 4 months. Because I remember the memo we released with regards to the case was somewhere about January 3rd. So that means that original rate of arrest must have been around the very end of December, or maybe the 1st of or 2nd of January. So that's 4 months we are going in for a simple misdemeanor case where the worst case is probably 2 or 3 months in prison or $1,000 fine. But what do we have here today? We got murders going on. We got criminal offenses going on. We got corruption in government. We don't see the Solicitor General pursuing those cases, trying to make Liberia a better place. Then when Mr. Cummings was blaming him for all his shenanigans he's been doing in this case, from the beginning, you compromise the case when you, as a Solicitor General who should be seeking the truth and justice, call somebody a criminal without investigating the case. You come, you like just grandstand around the case without providing substantive information. You actually alter the information that you presented as evidence, because you know the information that was there would grant Mr. Cummings his innocence and prove that he was right, and the case would not be a case. So it was not like it were pages that got lost or something inadvertent. It's just the items on a page they sent to you, and you delete those two things so you can see the jump from the 2nd July 2nd to the 19th. All that information that was deleted, which was wrong. Okay, so now you have somebody who has actually done some prosecutorial misconduct, still involved in a case. You have them trying to stop Mr. Cummings from traveling, all kind of funny stuff, when this is not even that serious of a case where Mr. Cummings has to be in court every day. Then when Mr. Cummings said those things, he come around now. If you have the stuff over there, I can forward it to you if you don't have it.
Yeah. Let me read it.
Okay, put on the screen. Put on the share on the screen. Let's see.
Hold on. Let me put it on the screen here quickly.
There you go.
That's the one, right?
Yeah.
So it reads, good morning. A lot of misinformation is going on about my role in the Alexander B. Cummings and others trial, but the truth is it was the Minister of Justice, Councillor Frank Musadin, who ordered the reissuance of the writ of arrest against them after it was first quashed. Under Liberian law, he is the only person who can disagree with the president or the government on the question of law and still keep his job. So the main thing there is he is telling us that this particular case was thrown through the window, but it was my boss who said, no.
Let's reinstate it.
We cannot throw it away, pull it back.
Right.
And then
and he just operating, or Solicitor General say he just operating as a tool. Can you imagine that?
And he went further by saying, well, he just the front line general. Is that what he said? Something like that?
Yes, exactly. So then what
does that mean?
That means he's just there going through the motions. Mm-hmm. He doesn't believe that there is a case to prosecute, but his boss man say prosecute the case and send you report to me, you have to do it. Right?
And do you believe him, Isaac?
I look at the next phase where the Justice Minister has now come back and said, oh, I demand for you to provide, information around this case, why it went to trial.
And I have that. I'll put it on the screen too, right?
Right.
There's a reason I asked the question, do you believe him? And let me provide a reason so you can answer quickly. I know you're pressed with time here.
Yeah.
This guy has been on record, right, for saying Mr. Cummings is guilty. He has to do community service. And so on and so forth. So this guy had concluded the case. Now you are listening to the very guy saying, well, all I was doing, it was because I was told to do it. And then I asked the question, do you believe this guy?
Well, I have not believed much of anything that he has come with, because I don't believe he's a credible individual. It's just clear. I've said that from the very beginning. I've called him criminal himself, his criminal activities. So it's not like I believe him. But it has to be something that's investigated at that Justice Ministry. Because put up the Justice Minister's statement. Let's see it.
So, yeah, it is.
Right.
The Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Republic of Liberia has directed Solicitor General Serena Sieh to furnish his office with the proper evidence which provides the basis for the prosecution of Alexander B. Cummings and others. The minister's directive is consistent with Section 22.2 of the executive law, which states that it shall be the duty of the Minister of Justice to procure the proper evidence for and conduct, prosecute, or defend all suits and proceedings in the courts in which the Republic of Liberia or any officer thereof as to such officer is a party or may be interested. The minister cautioned that henceforth the prosecution of all cases must be approved by his office, and prosecutors are advised to furnish the office with the minister with the proper evidence in support of any and all prosecution. The minister noted that he is under obligation to ensure that the purpose of prosecution is not to taunt, harassed, grandstand, punish, or convict, but to pursue the truth, and that is the instant case.
So
So
you gotta read the rest.
Yeah.
What this tells you? No, keep it up there. Let's talk. They ain't gotta look at me. Keep it up there so we can point to specific.
No, we need to look at your face. So go ahead.
But man, the fact is the justice minister is incompetent. The people say he's a smart lawyer and everything, but as an administrator, as a minister, he's totally incompetent. What he's saying there is they don't even have a case management system at the Ministry of Justice. And you see, when Mr. Cummings talk about technology and e-governance, that's one of the aspects right there. You as a minister, there should be a process for any case to go. He already stated there, section 22.2 of the executive law, that gives him that mandate, that responsibility for ensuring proper evidence is gained and dissected before a case can be brought to the court. He basically telling us that he abdicated that responsibility. He never lived up to it. He was not diligent in the execution of a position. For him to say today is when we start doing X, Y, Z, that is already in the law that he should have been doing from day one 4 years ago, tells me he's an incompetent minister. He's not managing right. For him not to know about this case, for him not to know what evidence was brought, for a prominent figure in our society or a leading opposition figure to be taken to court, dragged through court for 4 months, your solicitor general, that's why I wanted you to put a thing up there so we can put the exact words that he said up there. Okay, he said the prosecution is not to taunt. So he knows very well Serena Sieh has been taunting Mr. Cummings, harassed. He knows Mr. Sieh has been harassing Mr. Cummings, asking him for all kind of nonsense, requiring him to stay in court for a misdemeanor case. He knows Mr. Sieh has been grandstanding all his show, the interview, or the case over, blah, 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 all of that, trying to punish or convict and even, I will add, insult Mr. Cummings at times. He never pursued the truth of this case. It's not, that's what I say, invisible to him, like invisible part. It's not invisible. It's something that has been happening in his face. And he, the justice minister, was able to not know anything about Mr. Cummings' case, but know what happening at NEC and intervene in a statement to say that, the obligation of a contract should not hold, whereas we should look at the freedom to associate. Who said we shouldn't? We're not free to associate, but when you have obligation and contractual terms in something that limits you just taking a different kind of association after you freely associated before, it doesn't happen.
And I read somewhere he's now asking this very solicitor general for the evidence, that the evidence should be submitted.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They don't have a case management system. If you have a case management system, you have December 31st, accusation comes in from Bernard Ure and whoever. January 1st, it was examined by our prosecutors. January 3rd, evidence was found to support taking the case to try, and this is the evidence. They will put the evidence in our case management system. Or a file, even if it was a manual file. Is there no case folder for this where it's clearly spelled out the different steps? Or does the Justice Ministry not have a step-by-step process that causes a case to move, and then before that case gets to court, it comes for his signature where he can review that file? Is that what he's saying? So we just have a by the seat of our pens Ministry of Justice here. This is very sad, very embarrassing. It's a international joke on Liberia right now. And different people, different organizations have offered to reform our judiciary. They have had stop and starts.
Fast forward, Isaac. Fast forward. Mr. Cummings said he is hoping, not only hoping, but he wants to see Mr. Bouaka taking the criminal witness stand. And in the event where Bouaka, for any reason, when subpoena will not show up at the court to testify, to take the witness stand,
and that last question,
he will have to decide. He will have to make a decision. And
yes, but the court cannot be biased. It's a mockery.
What I'm hearing from him is that if Bouaka does not show up, he is not going to go to court. That's what I'm saying.
What at sometimes civil disobedience has to come in. For me, I want Mr. Cummings not to be going to court for a long time. Let the guy arrest him and take him to jail. For me, that would have been the case.
How would that be a good thing?
Because you got to take a stand, sometimes a principle stand against bad governance or bad laws. You have to take a stand. That's what civil disobedience is about. That's what the right to protest, the right to demonstrate are all about. Because sometimes in a democracy, people can start to operate with impunity, can be biased and take it the wrong way. And that's when people.
So we should expect Cummings not to go to court if
I don't know about that expectation. It's up to Mr. Cummings to make that decision. I'm saying I'm of the opinion that's what he should do. That's not what he has done. Obviously, he's weighing his judgment. He's looking at the situation before he decides. So I just want to say, this opportunity was great, Ansony. I really appreciate it. We can always have more of these.
Okay, let me ask my last question, then I can let you go, please. I beg. Okay. The Ghana fiasco meeting, Mr. Cummings admitted that yes, there was a meeting between him and Mr. Bwaka. It was the two of them in the room.
Right.
Well, whether or not he or Bwaka was the one initiated the meeting, he did not disclose that. Why?
Right. He said both sides agreed to have the meeting. Right now, today, I would love to have a meeting with Bwaka people. Let's discuss it. We are opposition people. We need to be able to come to the table. We let differences divide us too much. We try to even fight to find those differences, whereas we got more in common, and we should be able to disagree on the issues, but not get personal, not get insulting, all of those. So I would love for the Bwaka people to come to the table, and one or two of them in the background.
What I'm looking for, he did not say either he initiated the whole meeting or Bwaka. That's why
and he did not have to say that. There's no requirement that he says who initiated the meeting. But I'm telling you, it will be good if they can get back to the table. Look, I met a common friend of the two the other day virtually. And I was shocked at what he was telling me in terms of the relationship between Bwaka and Mr. Cummings and what they have done. And that's the thing about Mr. Cummings. He doesn't bring all the stuff he does out. He doesn't try to expand on some things to rationalize anything, But if Mr. Bwaka can just throw the years of relationship that they have had, maybe that's why Mr. Cummings wants him to come on to testify to see whether he will really lie on him or not, whether he will say he was not in that chat room. Because I saw some of the text messages where after Mr. Cummings posted that final document that is with NEC today, where they all said thank you, they appreciated it, and for him to come and testify that was not what they agreed to, the lawyers did not change it, the lawyers did not include that, it makes me wonder.
So the follow-up here for you to go here is the issue of MOU with the Liberty Party, and that there were discussions about positions, and that came in the picture again.
Right.
Do you think discussing about positions at that level was anything necessary to do, given what's happened in the past?
Well, it was necessary because you look at the obvious relationship between the Unity Party and the ALP, Benin wanting to be vice president, maybe, and Yombly, definitely she wanted to be vice president. All the things she was doing within the CPP to get into that position and to move Liberty Party there, that's what caused the break in Liberty Party, because other Liberty Party members felt Mr. Cummings was the better choice. So to get a working understanding between the Liberty Party and the ANC, maybe Mr. Cummings felt, and along with the Liberty Party folks, to get a memorandum of understanding to know what the terms of that engagement will be, which is something good for anybody to have. Most times when you get it documented, it makes sense and they hold you committed to it. Unfortunately, they never got to the point where they could consummate the memorandum of agreement. But there is still a relationship there. They are still talking. Both parties are still in the CPP. So we'll see how things work out. Look, politics is so dynamic between now and, October 2023. There'll be a lot of things going around, a lot of phases changing, a lot of.
All right. I don't want to take all of your time before you blame me for getting late. Close with this. Mr. Cummings was emphatic when he said that which had been done to him,
right,
by his colleagues,
right,
will not go unpunished. Right. There will be consequences. I think that was a promise or a threat. And then finally, he said the CPP, the idea of the CPP is not dead, it's alive. But I continue to say, we will. Is there a plan? Close with those.
Well, definitely Mr. Cummings has the right. He reserves that right to sue those people. I think Stanton has some amount, 20 million or whatever. I don't know the exact amount what the lawsuit will come in for. But if somebody lied to you and tried to, really smear your character and your reputation like that, especially Mr. Cummings, like he said, there are a few things he protects strongly, that he holds strong. His family, his wife, his children, his grandchildren, his own integrity, his own reputation, something he took years to build. And for somebody who went through those things, there were so many different temptations to go the other way. But he had to retain his integrity. And when you retain that and people come and try to smear you simply for you to look like them or to exclude you from a process, it's a painful thing. So he's going through this respectfully as a responsible citizen. But at the end of the day, when it comes that, the company is fully exonerated or this case is dismissed, then he reserves that right to sue whoever were part and parcel of the process or the conspiracy to smear him. He has the right to bring them to a court of competent jurisdiction that they can judge whether that was a professional thing they did or whether that was a criminal act they conspire against Mr. Cummings, and what should be the retribution, the punishment for them, the repercussions, and what do they owe him from a civil perspective to pay for the losses that he experienced while he was going through this thing. So I want to thank you for the opportunity. It was great. It's always wonderful engaging you. Our friends are focused on Liberia. You guys are doing a great job. Now you're probably going to have your program on live radio in Liberia. Where we respect your platform and the level of substance you bring to the discourse on our country. You guys keep doing the good work. My man Dennis Jai, he's there in the background working as hard as possible, carrying his show. You guys just keep it up. You got so I saw my picking Leo Johnson on there. Very smart young man, very progressive, very patriotic, wants to make a difference, has a wonderful media center or multi-purpose center going on in Painesville City Hall. I think more Liberians need to know about it. They need to contribute so that it can be come to fruition. But there's a lot we have to talk about very soon. Ansony, I know I'll be coming back with you, but thank you for this opportunity. And I thank the listeners. Thank you.
Thank you for coming, and we appreciate you.
All right. Peace.
Yeah. Well, folks, I always have millions of questions, but I have to respect my guest time. There was the issue of citizenship. I wanted to touch on that as well, and many other questions that I asked. I want to say thank you so very much, our listening audience, for following the broadcast here at Focus on Liberia, where our goals are always, very simple. It's about educating. It's about elevating the discourse in a very responsible way and also promoting the country, Liberia. I always have questions. Some you will not like, and some you will like, especially for those of you who have political sides. When there is a question that bites, on the side that is opposing to you, you like me, you like us. But then when we ask a question that bites your side, you disagree. And that is the beauty of what we do here in elevating, promoting Liberia. Folks, we need to have serious conversation. The CPP really, really destroy what they built. And it has a way of hampering the progress of our democracy. But I believe that there's always a way out of any chaos. The search for leadership, I continue to say, should not be taken for a joke. The nation Liberia has experienced all. They are our fellow citizens who only rely on hope for a better tomorrow. And the unfortunate and inconvenient truth is we will always, for the most part, rely on leaders who provide national leadership so that all of the things that we need, private sector investment, the investment climate, the issue of transparency, even the media being free to operate, citizens, being respected, the issue of roads, the provision of social services, electricity, water, education, and all of these things. Why it's true that private individuals can do much, but there is not much they can do when government that should be the foundation of the nation in terms of what the people continue to tell us, the enabling environment, is not being created by that responsible government. When we have individuals whose sole purpose of coming into government is more so to enrich themselves at the detriment, at the displeasure, at the dissatisfaction of those who they govern, then we are for sure doomed to be stagnant. This country, Liberia, needs all of us. And that is why Focus on Liberia is on a mission to ask the question, to bring the sides together for them to disagree and, if possible, agree. We have to stop this useless fight. It does not get us nowhere or anywhere, or it gets us nowhere, to pull it right. So, folks, we want to say thank you. Tiawan Gonglo is running, Cummings is running, Waka is running. Sieh wants to remain. He wants to maintain power. Yes, Sieh wants to maintain power. These are our choices, and few others probably that might be coming to the fore. The people of Liberia will have to be involved. I agree with Barack Obama when he said, democracy is not a spectator sport. You all can play your part in your own little way. I am a person within a media cycle. I will do my part with my gross limitation. You can do your part by either convincing somebody to get involved in media decision. You don't have to tell them who to actually vote for, but let them get involved. Election is not the only responsibility of a citizen. A citizen responsibility is more so the accountability. By that, I mean by holding leaders accountable, being aware of what leaders are doing, being aware about the things that are going on in the country, and not saying that, well, I don't have any interest, or I give up on that country. That is not a solution. It's a recipe for more backwardness, nothingness, poverty, undevelopment, hunger, and you need the rest. And more so, if we behave this way, just as it happened in the past, we may get another chaos on our hands again. And that is something that we do not want. That is why getting involved in our own little way. You don't have to be a politician. I am not one. I don't hope to be one. Neither do I hope to support any of them. But when I see the truth, I will say it. And when I see questions and see problems, I will also highlight that. Do not support politicians. Do not support them. Hold them accountable. That is what you are supposed to do. That is what will get us there. If we do not hold them accountable, and if we support them, and if you glorify them, if you worship them, if you become a sycophantic actor and player and worshiper, you are doing your country a disservice, and that will be a menace on your involvement and display of love and patriotism for the country that we all love. I hope I did make sense. But I have to go now because the one who is empty makes all the noise, right? And I think I'm one. But even the noise, there's a reason for it. And that is what I talk. And that is what I do, what I do. And that is what I'm asking you to play your part. And I believe you have been playing your part. Sitting on the fence is not an option. We have a song here. That song says we are all Liberians. I love that song. It is patriotic. It is nationalistic. I will ask you to listen to this song for just 1 minute. Maybe you will thank me later. And so, folks, this is how we will bring down the curtains here and focus on Liberia, on the program, The Hour of Politics, the most responsible program in internet television right here and focus on Liberia. Until I catch you again, my name is Ansony. My name is Sieh. Call me the troublemaker if you like. Until I see you, I will go for my cartoon. Bye-bye.
We are Liberia. Liberia is our home. Liberia people. Liberia.